Okay, it says it's setting up. And there we go. So it says we're live, so I'm gonna start the recording, Russell, and then we're gonna go live. I'm just gonna close your camera and then bring you up. Okay, so let me maybe close your camera, Russell. There we go. Well, there we go. Now we're live. Well, welcome everybody to Tea Time with Miss Liz. We're doing Plan B today with Zoom. So I want to welcome everybody to Tea Time. You guys know how Miss Liz works. Today I have Russell Little in the house, and we're going to be talking about his book, Murder by Storm, and his tea is family man, stoic, and intellectual apparine. Apering. I'm going to get him to say it because I can't pronounce that word, but we're going to have a really good, deep, strong cup of tea. But before we get started, you guys know how Miss Liz works. Get everybody over to YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, all those good platforms. Give that a like, follow, and subscribe, and get these tea times out there because they all do make a difference, and we all can make a difference with everybody in with all these tea times. So let's get started with the disclaimer and then a nice, beautiful intro, and let's get Russell in here and we'll spill some tea together. So disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz Tea Time is a global platform dedicating to sharing real life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I, Miss Liz, is going live. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant permission to display your name. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by the guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the giving time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own good judgment when considering any action or decision that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of this discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly at bookingmissliz@gmail.com or check out my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, I want to welcome everybody to Tea Time, where real lives shape powerful stories and truth finds its voice through experience. Today, we welcome a guest who has spent a lifetime witnessing the human conditions from the front line of the courtroom and transforming it into unforgettable fiction. Joining us is Russell G. Little, Houston-based writer, seasoned attorney, and author of Murder for Me and Storm. What's the other book? Murdered by Storm. After more than 4 decades practicing family and criminal law, Russell has seen humanity at its most raw, complex, and revealing. The character's conflict, the moral crossroad he encountered didn't stay in the courtroom. They found their way onto the page. Russell's storytelling is rooted in lived experience. His work explores justice, truth, and the emotional undercurrent that drives human behavior. This afternoon, Tea Time takes us to the intersection of law and literacy, and where real stories inspire fiction and fiction reveals deeper truths. So grab your cup and lean in. Today we explored the stories that only a lifetime of listening could tell. Let me get Russell in here and let's spill some tea together. Russell, if you'd like to turn your camera on now. There we go.
Good
Welcome, Russell.
afternoon. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I'm sorry I had trouble signing on. I'm a typical boomer.
That's okay because you know what? Miss Liz is partnered with babyboomers.org, so perfect guest to have.
Great laugh.
So, Russell, tell me who you were as a little guy and who you are now.
Well, as a little guy, I was the kid in the class that had to go in the first grade to speech therapy because no one could understand me. I had to go to reading therapist. And Liz, you're probably too young to remember this, but when I was a little boy, you had reading groups. You had the first reading group where the best readers were, or the second reading group where the second reading group, and the third reading group where the bad readers went. And every year I would start in the first reading group, a third reading group, I mean, where the bad readers were. About Christmas, they would move me up every year to the second reading group. And by March or April, they would move me to the first reading group. That's a terrible way to label kids. I can tell you, I still remember the eyes of the kids in the fourth grade when they moved me, looking at me like, "You're leaving us," and that they were marked. It was terrible. But because of that, one counselor told my mother in the third grade at the end of the year that I needed to read every day. I should read the newspaper every day before I go to school and all summer. And so I was the little boy going from third grade to fourth grade. And from then on, that uh, I would get up in the morning, my mother would fix bacon and toast and orange juice for me, and I would read the editorial page of the newspaper. I came from a real blue collar family, and it was my first exposure, except for the opera cartoons in Bugs Bunny, which is was the greatest thing that was the first exposure I ever had to that type of culture. Now I'm this wacko opera fan, but uh, I would read about lawyers and opinions and what was going on in the world, and it changed my life because it created ambition. I wanted to be that, and so uh, that's who I was as a little boy. I was also valedictorian of my undergraduate school. I was top third at the University of Texas Law School, and practiced law for 40 years.
I love it, Russell. You were an underdog. You showed those
Yeah.
people, right?
And don't think that isn't part of my attitude to this day.
You know, that's what I love. I love the underdog, the one that gets underestimated. You know, you started in the reading group three and then you went to valedictorian. And, that's the stories that I really enjoy having on Tea Time is people that show, you challenge as a child, but as you grow, you learn from it. And I love that you brought Bugs Bunny in there. And I might not look my age, but I'm 51, so I do know a little bit about the reading groups and that as well. I come from a small northern area where we had small community schools and we had the reading groups, and I suffer from dyslexia, so I know all about that reading challenge. Um, and so tell me about Bugs Bunny. What what do you like about Bugs Bunny?
Okay, this is weird. My family always thought I was weird. It wasn't all the Bugs Bunnies, but uh, part of the people who created Bugs Bunny was to spread greater culture to people like me, blue collar kids, right? That have no other way to see what opera is. And so if you remember the Bugs Bunnies, the Barbara Seville Bugs Bunny, or the Kill the Rabbit Bugs Bunny that was one of the rings, well, that stuff blew me away until when that was on, I would stand up with that. My dad thought I had lost my mind. But to this day, I listen, like when I write, I listen to Verdi because I'm a huge wacko Verdi fan. And classical Italian opera is what I prefer. And that's all from Bugs Bunny.
See, you just never know what you get from Bugs Bunny if you guys are paying attention. People like us that get into the real meaning behind Bugs Bunny. You know, cartoons told a lot of stories, but they taught us a lot. We're, today's world, we're not learning a lot. We're learning a lot of violence and stuff like that from the cartoons. And
Right. And I got to tell you, to this day, I'm a big public art supporter. Uh, and we have gone out of our way to support the type of public art where it's not charged and families can go and their children can see real art. And like, I'm taking my granddaughter to the Museum of Fine Arts and the butterfly, uh, the big domes they have where the butterflies are. I'm taking her to both. I'm taking her to the Museum of Fine Arts so she can see art, but I'm taking her to the butterfly place because that's how get her in it. That's my new dog. I'm sorry.
well, it also shows a transformation of growth. You know, when you go to the butterfly sanctuaries and that thing, it shows all of the,
Sanctuary, yes.
yeah, or conservatory or something like that, right? I went to one with my mother-in-law before she passed, and a butterfly landed on her head. She was 92, and she spoke about that butterfly for the longest time, and it just made her blossom. Uh, so yeah, the butterfly thing is awesome. I wish we had one in our area because I would take my grandkids too.
Yes. And that was my granddaughter said yes immediately. And my twin 4-year-old granddaughters complained that they weren't invited. But you don't take 4-year-old twin Tasmanian devils to, the Museum of Fine Arts. That would just be insanity. But I got to tell you, I also smoke cigars. And when I sit out in the backyard of the forest that I lived in for 3 years in Atlanta, the butterflies are attracted to cigar smoke. I never knew
Oh,
that before. They would sit on my knee while I would have a cigar if I didn't move very much.
wow. I just learned something about butterflies. Thanks for
Yeah.
that, Russell. I love learning from my guests. Like you guys teach me so much when I have these conversations. It's like homework assignment afterwards. It's like, let me check this out. So Russell, let's get into your book. We talked about a little bit when I introduced you. We talked about the Murder for Me, but the book that I was sent was Murdered by Storm. So let's talk about Murder by Storm, and then we'll jump back into Murder by Me. For
Okay,
me.
let's do it. Uh, I write murder thrillers. Murder for Me, the first one was a murder thriller, kind of a psycho murder thriller. And after that, I had the readers wanted to know several things. Number one, Marilyn, the antagonist in the book, they want to know why is she so evil and how does she do the things that she does? And also during that time, I went through Hurricane Harvey, which for a week, maybe 10 days, Houston knew it was coming because it was so slow and it creeped toward Houston. And so you get to see the psychology of a population preparing or panicking for a hurricane. And then when Harvey hit Houston, it stalled and sat on top of Houston for 5 days. And, and there was 52 inches of rain. Huge sections of Houston got wiped out. And it changed my life for the better. It was one of the greatest moments in my life. And I know that's the strangest thing you could hear, but I lived in a high rise across the park from where the refugee center was. So for 5 days, I walked in the hurricane across the park to the refugee center and helped people that had had their homes wiped out. They were stunned. And I would help those people for 5 days. And then after Harvey left, you had all these homes that had been destroyed. And one of the things about Houston, where are you right now?
I'm in Cornwall, Canada.
Okay. So, one of the things about Houston is a lot of people move to Houston for work. So a lot of people don't have families or greater families in Houston. They moved here for work. And a lot of people don't really have many friends when they first move here because they moved here for work. And those people had no one to help them. So I was on a group, and we would go every morning, we'd go to a new house that was wiped out. And the person, I can still remember one person just sitting in a chair. They just were just sitting there because they were so exhausted. And we would go through a house and gut it. That means get rid of all the destroyed things so that they can start repairing. We gut the house in one day and move on to the next house. It was brilliant, and it changed my life. Uh, and there's something else that changes your life during a hurricane. Is the remarkable thing is you see people risking their lives to help complete strangers. They don't care what sex you are, race you are, what your religion is. They don't care. People risking their lives to help other people. That has to change your life, especially when you see it over and over and over. And you see things that you have to see to believe, like manholes exploding for 2 stories and a water fountain coming out of the manhole 2 stories high, or how nasty floodwater is, and all those things. And I remember, because I'm a writer as well as a lawyer, which means I've been on the dark side for 40 years, is I remember thinking, it's interesting. The police are busy saving people. There are no police. They're busy.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that wipes out evidence and DNA evidence specifically like nasty floodwater. And I thought, what a time to do a crime. So as I'm writing my second book, I put all of that in the book because I want to write about the inspirational things too, which is ironic since I'm writing a murder thriller, that I want to write about inspirational stuff too. But that's what I'm doing. And also, uh, one of the challenges I had was, like I said before, people wanting to know, why was Marilyn the way she was? And so my every time I write a book, I have some kind of intellectual challenge. What am I pushing the ceiling of my ability and knowledge, and uh to how am I pushing the ceiling to do better, to do more? And I decided in that book I was going to write from a woman's perspective and do it in an organic, natural way. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. It was very difficult. It was so difficult. Uh, my editor, who's a great editor, we actually met in a cigar bar one day to go over chapters 7 and 8. And she came in and she threw the chapters at me, and because I hadn't got it right yet. And everyone at the cigar bars, whoa, what's going on? I was like, hey, it's my editor. Uh, don't worry about it.
I
And they're
got
like,
work to
oh,
do.
that's Russell. That's Russell. And and uh and don't think I still don't give her grief about that. And after we started talking again a week later, we got it right. And but it was very important to me to make it organic and natural and from her perspective. And I think by the end of Murder by Storm, you say, okay, I get why Marilyn's the way she is.
So why was she the way she was?
Well, I'm not going to tell you that. You have
You
to
gotta
read
buy the
that. You got to buy the book. But I can tell you, talking to you, that when you read it, you'll say, okay, I get it. I know what he's talking about.
Well, I'm gonna read it because those are the books that really intrigue me. I really like crime books and I like real crime. Like I still trying to get a serial killer on tea time because I want to pick the brain. I want to understand why. There's something in them that snaps, or was it a scent? Was it something? Russell, you've worked in courtrooms for
That's
many.
not what it's like.
So what is it like?
Psychopaths is what you're talking about. Okay. Psychopaths, and I've known two of them, and they are embedded in my character in the book.
Okay.
The way I think of them is they're not the same species as the rest of us. We're sheep, right? We're a community pack group, and they're wolves. We're just different.
So there's a hunger in them that we don't
Yeah,
have.
right. And there's they have interesting, bizarre common traits. Like one of the common traits is uh they're always several moves ahead of you in a chess game, right? But they've never planned out the whole chess game.
Mhm.
So by the time they're several moves into the game, they start messing up. It's just one of their features, and it's kind of shocking because they can be ahead of you so far for so often, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Wow, that was
They s-
stupid."
they slip.
They slip. They don't really think things out the whole way through.
Is that
Like,
why they get caught?
huh, they get caught because they talk usually, right?
Oh,
Because one of the things that is true is that if you don't talk, you almost never get convicted. My experience with my clients, the ones who would listen to me and shut their mouths, are the ones that most likely I could take care of. The ones that couldn't control themselves were the ones that wind up convicted because the police have so much work. The district attorneys are buried in work that they and you got to understand the motivation like of a district attorney's office. If you into a typical urban district attorney's office is a huge law firm, and you don't get promoted in those law firms by winning. That's not how you get promoted, by not losing. So
mm,
uh, the police that they and the district attorneys, they really go for the people that talk because they're easy to win those trials, right? The
yeah.
ones that don't talk and they have to put things together, it's not like on TV. That's a lot of work. They move down in the stack and they may never get to them.
So what's one case that stood out to you, Russell, in all the years you've worked in the courtroom?
Well, my first jury trial when I was a baby lawyer, and that's a pejorative reference to when you're a young lawyer that lawyers use for young lawyers. And I was working for a mid-sized firm in Houston, and I had my first jury trial. And one of the partners decided they were going to go see how I was going to do. This was a trial where it was a car accident where my client was cutting through a parking lot and hit somebody else, right? There was no way, and he was speeding. There was no way I was going to win this trial. So, uh, as after Bordier, which is what we call it here, Verdier is how it's pronounced in on the East Coast. I know that because I did another podcast recently uh, with a lot of lawyers, and they laughed when I said Bordier because that's just the way you say it in Texas. After that, I realized uh, two things happened. Number one, the senior partner went back to the law firm and said, "There's no way Russell can win that case. Facts are totally against him." So the whole law firm assumed I was going to lose. And this was a case that should have lasted about a half a day, and it wound up lasting 4 days because what I figured out after Vordaer, I realized that too, and I decided that the only way I was going to win is if the jury had no idea what really happened when they went into the jury room after the trial. And so instead of a half day trial, it was a 4 day trial. And they thought it was a car intersection accident when they went back. They had no idea what had happened, which is how I accomplished what I was going to do. right? So I remember that because that taught me uh, that was the first trial. And when I went back to the law firm after I won, everyone said, "Oh, so we assume you lost?" And I was like, "I won." They were so shocked.
Well, you proved them wrong, right? Again, the
Right,
underdog comes in and he wins the case.
right. So that was early on. Near the end of my practice, I tried a case against one of my best friends, who is an unbelievably great lawyer. And it was the worst possible type case. It was a jury trial in a divorce case, and it was a bloodbath. And I during board, and this man's right out of Alberto. Ask him to be quiet. Okay, I'm sorry. We have people coming into the house right now. Uh, and but during during when they brought the jury panel in, there was one of my neighbors on the jury panel, and uh, my good friend Bill he's Norwegian by birth, Minnesotan by where he lived, and he fulfilled all the stereotypes. Very calm. He never told a joke that worked. It was just that way. And uh, I I first thing when you see it, one of your neighbors on a jury panel, you have to go tell the judge and the opposing counsel, look, this person knows me. They're one of the neighbors. And Bill told, and I tell him this all the time, he told the only joke in his whole life that worked. So when it was his turn to talk to the jury panel, he asked the woman, we'll say her name was Susan, Susan, you know Russell Little, don't you? Yes, I'm his neighbor. Susan, is can you promise the court that you won't hold what you think of Russell Little against his client? And so the whole panel laughed because at that joke. And I actually told the jury panel right then. I stood up and said that was the only joke Bill's ever told that worked. And that was a bloodbath. And there's like 50 questions to the jury, and the trial lasted 9 days. And when the jury finally came back, Bill won about half the questions, and I won about half the questions. And I've always declared that I beat him, and he's always said, absolutely not. I won that trial. And that's like one of our big jokes. So that was my case.
So, Russell, let's get into the book because we had some questions that came in about your book that I want to get out to you when I was promoting you. So, The Murder by Storm. This, if you have the book there, so if you can hold it up so everyone can see
Yes.
the cover.
Murder by Storm.
So, can you tell my audio listeners what the cover looks like and who's on the cover and all that good stuff?
Oh, I would love to. Okay. Uh, this is in a high rise. In fact, it's the high rise that I was in during Harvey. It's uh, you see a lightning strike here. It's during the hurricane, and Marilyn is in her apartment looking down on the city of Houston during the Hurricane Harvey, thinking about her next move. And it won the Fire Award. I'm very proud of that.
I want to bring that up because I did find that about the Fire 2024 Fire Award, the Fire Book Award. What is that Fire Book Award? Because I've never heard of that award.
Uh, well, I don't know. I didn't know much about it before either. My publisher uh, put me into the contest, and there was quite a few pretty famous people that won parts of the Fire Award, and I won it for the murder thriller.
Yeah, there's some incredible people that I've seen on that the fire award, and I'm just like, oh, tea time guests, awesome guys. Like I was like high fiving you guys all there. I was like, yeah, I know that one. I know that one. Congratulations. Your publisher is Plum Creek Press. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Plum Creek Press?
Sure. Plum Creek Press uh, is the publisher is Amy. I can't even pronounce her last name. It's like 12 syllables long. And uh, after I published Murder for Me myself, because I was 65 years old. I didn't want to waste time sending things to other people. Part of my intellectual challenge on the first that book was to get it published because if you don't publish it so everyone else can judge you and read the book and tell you what they think, then you really haven't written it as far as I was concerned. It wasn't my first book. It was the first book I published. And and so uh, after that, and it was a bestseller on Amazon. And I was writing the second book, and she actually came to me and asked me if she could publish my next book, and I was really honored by that. So, absolutely.
Yeah, Amy's an amazing person. I can't say her full name either. It's a lot of syllables, like you said. But Amy is an amazing person. Check out Plum Creek Press. They are on online, so you can check them out. I want to talk to you a little bit about the suspense thriller Murder by Storm. You have the hoodoo in your book. What's the
No,
hoodoo?
that's a short story. That's a short story. When I was a young lawyer, when I practiced probably about 7, 8 years, I investigated a lot of arsons at the time for insurance companies because when Houston went through the oil crash about 88, 89, there was a lot of people that lost their jobs. There were a lot of people that had no, they had no way out, and a lot of people burned their houses down.
Oh,
And one of my jobs was figuring out if the people that were insured burned down a building. And one of those houses was by, and this, I did not know this before this happened. It, New Orleans, you've heard of voodoo before.
yes, I
Well,
have.
well,
I've heard of voodoo, but not hoodoo.
well, in parts of New Orleans and transferred through into Houston, uh, it's actually referred to as hoodoo instead of voodoo.
Oh,
And I actually, one day while I was investigating this one case, had a woman call me who insisted upon being anonymous and said, uh, you need to be careful. And she talked to me in a way to try to scare me or warn me. And she said that the lady that you're investigating had already built the doll, a doll of me that she was going to hoodoo. And I was, you know how arrogant young men are and young men starting their career. You know how stupid we are when we're like that.
no comment. I'm not
You
even
see,
going.
I'm convinced that young men can be some of the dumbest humans in our species, but that's another story. I'm so arrogant that my response was, hey, that sounds great. You think she'll sell me my doll when she finishes? She hung up on me. And the comical things that happened in that investigation of that arson case after that was was put in a short story that I have on my webpage about hoodoo. That's where
When I
you
s-
got that.
when I seen hoodoo, I was like, oh, the voodoo doll.
Yes, and they made, but you know what? They would not. They were so mad. and when I was doing her sworn statement, which is basically a deposition, like in a trial, I she was so angry that I wasn't scared and that I wanted. That's my dog again. I'm sorry.
No, that's
That
all
she,
good. You know, these are live shows. We bring
it's
everybody
crazy.
in.
Uh, she was so angry she wouldn't even admit it, and I never did get my hands on that doll.
So that doll is out there still, Russell.
No,
So
that
you
doll's.
better behave
I'm sure
yourself.
she'd burn that doll up. Because that stuff doesn't work unless you believe in it, right?
Yeah,
And I just wanted it as a trophy.
I think it would have been pretty cute. I would have liked to see what it looked like.
I wasn't that cute. I'm sure that doll wasn't that cute either. I wish I was cuter than I was.
The next thing I'm going to go into is the baby cop investigates. What's that about? Baby cop investigates.
Well, uh, what I think you're talking about is uh, the protagonist in my stories is a, a a detective who is the comedy of my stories because uh I've had some readers say, look, I can only read 10 or 11 pages at a time, then I got to rest because I'm so stressed from it.
Oh,
So you got to put comedy in there too to
oh, I
relieve
like
that
it.
stress.
Dark
And
humor.
the detective, the cop, uh, in my in my case, in my stories are is the comedy, and there's all sorts of things about him. Even as he is trying to catch Marilyn, but he's always behind. Uh, is like he has, and I actually know someone like this, and it's spellbinding. He has a mustache that doesn't move with the rest of his face or his mouth. Like when he talks, it doesn't move that way. It moves independently, like it has a mind of its own. And when you talk to him and you're close to him, that's all you can look at because it's so weird. And you go through life and you meet people that are different than everyone else. Most people are within a zone of about the same, but there's a few people, and you know that because you've met those people that are just completely different than everyone else. And whenever I came across something like that, I would always think, I got to write about that. Right.
Those are the
Like I,
interesting characters in life.
right. And that mustache is a part of this character, O.C. Sims, the protagonist, the detective that's always two or three moves behind Marilyn. And that's part of him. Also, there's one thing about Houston and Texas that is hard to believe if you live anywhere else. And that is how many people wear cowboy boots every day. That's not something that happens anywhere else. When I moved to Atlanta for 3 years, I put those cowboy boots up. You can't wear those boots every day. And people want to know, what the heck are you doing? Right. I'd wear them like once a week just because people would make comments about it. It's the strange thing in a great way. Uh, but in Texas and in Houston, there's a whole subset of people. That's all they wear. That's their footwear. And I put OC's Sims in that. Is he wears cowboy boots every day, and all of his pants are tailored so they go up to his belly button. It's the strangest thing I ever saw. But when you see someone like that, that's something you think, wow, uh, that's that's odd. And there's a
Those pants are a little high there, bud.
right. And there's one little secret that I have to tell you, and that is in every book I write, OC Sims gets shot. That's a thing. He always gets shot.
But he always
If
comes
it
back.
right. And uh for the comic relief in this book is I wrote in uh a relationship where OC meets a woman about his age. He's in his mid 40s, and they're developing a relationship. And they get very close. They fall in love. But every time they're trying to consummate their relationship, something happens.
Mhm.
And in a comical way. There's always something that happens. And uh, it's just part of the comedy.
So, Russell, is there a lot of comedy in your life?
Oh yeah. I'm a happy person. I'm a happy person. Uh, just this weekend, my comedy was my daughter needed me to baby. I have an 8 year old granddaughter. We just moved when we moved from Atlanta to Houston. We moved 2 blocks from my grandchildren because I'm a family
Nice.
guy, right?
Yes.
Like I told you. And so my her husband was out of town. The 8 year old was sick, and I had to babysit the 4 year old identical twin girls for the day. That was a
Ooh.
comedy. Number one, I can't handle them even when they're alone, right? It was, and they're like little Tasmanian devils from Bugs Bunny, right? That's what they are. They destroy everything. They go through everything. And so that was a total comedy. I wound up buying control because I took them to Chick-fil-A for nuggets. And then in the mall, because it was cold this weekend, they had this big playground. I let them play there. And then I made them follow me and walk through the mall till they couldn't walk anymore to exhaust them. And that's how I manipulated babysitting.
You know, it's always fun as grandparents when we watch those little ones. You know, we had all the energy with our kids. Where did we not get the energy for these ones?
I don't
Mike,
know how I did it. Do you wonder how you raised your kids? I don't. It's exhausting to watch their families.
it is. My granddaughter just started kindergarten and she's just a go go go. And I have a new granddaughter that's coming in the new year. So, yeah, I'm just like, how did I do it? Like, what did I do with these little ones? Like, keep them busy. But I like that you brought Bugs Bunny back in and you brought Tasmanian Devil back in because, you know, I love Tasmanian Devil. I thought he was a cool character.
Yeah, I did too.
He was a little crazy on the wild side, but he had a good story.
Well, I live it. Okay, I have two of them.
So you have twin grandkids.
I have three, but yes, I also have twins. They're 4 years old, like I said, little Tasmanian girls.
Well, Russell, let's talk about your tea that you gave me. You gave me family man, stoic, and intellectual. I can't say that word.
Okay,
EP. What's that
that's
last
just
word?
that's uh I can't even remember what that word was. But what I'm just saying is, as I described to you when I was writing, trying to write from a woman's perspective, I'm always testing my limits. I'm always trying to uh, push beyond what I think is my ceiling. That's what I mean. And I've lived that way. It's out of uh, Thomas Dillon when he wrote "Do not go gentle into the good night."
That was something else you gave me. Do not go gentle into good night. Rage, rage against
Rage,
the dying of the light.
right?
So is that
Always
what's
push beyond. Always push till you're finished. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You only have a limited time to live, but your limit isn't until you die. It's until you start losing your mental capacity. So you have to keep pushing till then."
so Russell, I heard that you have children's stories.
Yes, actually, and I know that's weird because I write psycho thrillers, right? That's because of my 8 year old granddaughter. When she was 5, I was blackmailed into going to Grandparents' Day, which is my worst nightmare to do stuff like that because you have all these kids that are showing off. I don't, yeah, that's not me, right? But my wife said I was going. I was a divorce lawyer for 40 years. I've been married 42 years. It's the craziest thing in the world. But My wife said I was going, so I went. And we're in her little class, and she walks over to with me with this stuffed elephant and tells me that an elephant is the animal she loves most. Well, I've always been uh, very concerned about the greater fauna of Africa, the elephants, the hippos, the rhinos, and and I've always contributed to that, to the support of them and the idea of the villages around those animals. If those animals are going to be around for our grandchildren, then you've got to make it more profitable for those people that live there to to keep those animals than to kill those animals, right? And so the whole theory behind that, there's funds that you can go to help them do that. And I've always been really supportive of that. And when my granddaughter told me that, I thought, I need to write a story about my granddaughter and an elephant. So after my wife released me, I went to the cigar bar and I wrote a story about my granddaughter and a baby elephant lost in a zoo and how they saved each other. And uh, my wife helped me write it after that. And then we wrote another one about a baby rhino and the that baby elephant and my granddaughter. And it just went on from there. I also wrote a children's story about uh, skunk dog, which was an animal, which was a husky that got sprayed by a skunk, and then
Oh, I
and
thought it
all
was
the
like I was like, what
and
kind of breed is that
a
now?
skunk dog because it's a skunk dog because it smelled like a skunk. But it was really an indoor dog with a lady that loved that dog and all the and it's a funny story about all the things she tried to do to try to get the smell off that dog. And every time she tries something, someone else would make some funny comment about how her dog was a skunk dog and how upset that made her and how she and then just goes on and on and on.
You know, these are the
And by
incredible
the way,
books
that
that
lady hate the lady that I wrote that story about hates that story because it's about her dog and her.
so it's actually somebody you know that got their dog got sprayed
It
by
was
a
that
skunk.
editor that threw those pages at me. Uh,
You know, and those are the kind of storybooks that I like to get out at Christmas time. And Christmas time is just around the corner, right, Russell? So what are you doing for Christmas this year?
this would be the first time in 4 years that we weren't traveling and away from home for Christmas because we lived in Atlanta, right? And we would fly to Houston to be with all my children and all the grandchildren. I have three kids, they're all married. And this is the first year because we moved this year back to Houston that we're not traveling. We're actually going to stay at our house, and everybody's going to come over to the money pit, which I refer to the house we bought because we immediately ripped everything out of it and rebuilt it. Some money pit, just like in the movie.
That's actually a good movie. I like that movie.
I don't like it anymore.
Why is that, Russell?
I
Because
would
you bought
never
the money
want
pit?
because I've lived it. I would never watch that movie again.
Russell, do you have any new books that are coming out or any events that you'd like to get out?
Well, I'm working on murder by trial now, and I'm writing a couple of things. Have you ever read Dungeons of the Confederacy? It
No.
was a it was a Pulitzer Prize book in the 30s about New Orleans, and there's a character in that book that is so obtuse and not connected to reality and repugnant, but so unforgettable that you can't stop thinking about him, even after you read the book. And writers uh, take that as inspiration, and that's why you get some of the characters you do in movies or TV. Like, remember in the last years of Seinfeld, they made George Costanza as dysfunctional and as they possibly could. they got that from Dungeons of Confederacy. There's one character in there from that book. And I wanted to write that character. I wanted to write a character that you would gross you out, not in a bad way, but just in a non, this guy does not know what he should be doing in society. Uh, but at the same time, while you're driving down the road, he comes up in your mind. I wanted to write that character. That was my challenge. And then I also want to write about the fact that in a trial, there are multiple sets of facts. And you wonder why the juries will come to a conclusion and the public goes crazy because they know what the facts are and they know that jury got it wrong. But the thing is, there's several sets of facts. There's the facts the public knows. Then there's the real set of facts that the judge, some of the investigators, and the attorneys know. And then there is a third set of facts that they let the jury know that they're allowed to make their decision on. Those are three sets of facts. And I wanted to write about that in a book.
So, what cases have you actually been a part of, Russell, that you brought into all of your books? Are they a little bit of all of your cases, or?
Yeah, they're a little bit of all. I did my jury trials went across the spectrum. I started off like that car accident case. That was my first baby case. So car accident cases, divorces, criminal trials, I did them all. I was actually, when I was in law school, I worked one summer for a district attorney's office and in Amarillo. That's at the top of Texas. And they had a change of venue triple capital murder trial uh, in Galveston. That's at the bottom of Texas. And they took me with them. And my job was to pick witnesses up at the airport, take them to the trial, help them get them ready, and then take them back to the airport. And we expected there to be a shootout during the whole case. We expected people to try to break these guys out. And so everybody had their own bodyguard. And so that was a wild summer living in Guido's Hotel and working on that capital murder trial, triple capital murder trial. And that is where I started. But it's just pretty much the whole spectrum of what I've been involved in. And, you know, I pulled those characters out that I met throughout my career and through my life, just like ones that you've met. And uh, I wanted to put them together in a story. And this is the only kind of stories that I could put all these characters together.
So when is your new book coming out, or is you're still working on that one, the murder
I'm
rights
still
one?
working on it. And I'm not one of these people that can write a book in 6 months. I work on it. I can, in fact, I just let Plum Creek know, and they weren't happy about this. I was quite a few chapters in, and I woke up one morning. I suddenly realized that's not how I want to start this book. So I started it over. Oh, they were so mad.
So you have another editor that's going to come in and throw books and chapters at
Oh,
you.
it was Amy. Amy's not someone you want to mess around with.
She's
She's
coming for you,
dangerous.
Russell.
She's dangerous.
So, Russell, what final message do you have for all the listeners out there today?
Uh, Thank you very much for spending your time listening to me. I got to tell you, when someone talks about my book or that they listen to one of our podcasts, I'm always humbled by it. Uh, it's so thank you. That's my main message. Thank you for listening. And when you read my book, thank you for that too.
And
I'm
Russell, if
humbled.
anybody wanted to reach out to you, where could they find you? And if you could spell out your website.
RussellLittleAuthor.com. My name, author.com. And the best place to reach me is probably on my author page on Facebook, which you followed like yesterday. Thank you. is Russell Stories, and that's where I post the shows I'm on, what I'm reading, where I'm traveling to, what I'm thinking about. I read international papers every morning. Uh, if there's an interesting article, I sometimes attach that even.
Awesome. Well, I'm just going to do a closing summary of our tea time and then we're going to wrap it up. And I'll be back tonight with Joni Jordan coming in the house and she'll be talking about her book tonight on tea time. What a compelling and eye-opening conversation. Russell, thank you for reminding us that stories drawn from real life carry a different weight, one shaped by empathy, accountability, and truth. You showed us that behind every case file is a human story worthy of reflection and understanding. This afternoon, we learned that fiction can be a powerful lens for examining justice, mortality, and the choices that define us. Your journey proves that wisdom doesn't retire when a career ends. It transforms into storytelling that continues to serve others. To everyone listening, may you leave this tea time thinking deeper about the stories you hear, the judgments you make, and the humanity that connects us all. Until we meet again, keep listening closely. The truth is often found between the lines. And I'll see everybody at 7 p.m. with the second tea time of today. And we're going to go here.
Epicurean. That was the
That
word.
that is the word.
Epicurean.
That is the word that I could not say.
Yeah, I can barely say it myself. Epicurean.
I'm gonna have to look up that word. You're gonna give me a lot of homework to do.
Thank you
Mm.
so much for having me on. And thank you for your extra trouble.
No, anytime, Russell. I really appreciated that we were able to work this out and we could get it out there for you. So what's going to happen is within 6 to 8 hours, you're going to get it onto Spotify and YouTube again, with some mini clips that I'll send them to you so that you can get those out on your platform as well.
I will do it. Thank you.
Awesome. So I will
Bye
let you
bye.
go and I will get ready for the next tea time.
Okay, bye bye.